There are moments in life when we stand at a crossroads, unsure of which path leads to happiness. But sometimes, that path begins with the simplest things, like a loaf of bread. I was once a poor child, growing up on the small streets of New Orleans, with big dreams but nothing except the love and the loaves of bread my mother made every day. My story, the story of the first loaf of bread, is a journey from poverty to success. But it's not just about money. It's about perseverance, kindness, and hopes that never fade. Are you ready to hear this story? Let me tell you, before we begin, if you love inspiring stories and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to click the subscribe button for the Heart Glow channel. You won't miss a single moment of this emotional journey. Let's explore the story of the first loaf of bread, and the wonderful things it brings. I still vividly remember the early winter mornings when the sun hadn't yet risen, and I could hear the wind gently blowing through the small streets of New Orleans. This city, though poor, always had a unique beauty, not because of the old houses or busy streets, but because of its people. Everyone seemed to wear a smile, no matter how hard life was. The busy streets echoed with the sound of jazz music coming from cafes, the rush of cars speeding by, and the calls of street vendors selling their goods. Each day, I felt a strange kind of music in the air. It wasn't instruments or a song, but the sounds of life, the sound of brave people fighting every day. I grew up here, amidst the warm streets of New Orleans, and that shaped a part of me that can never be taken away: optimism. But behind the vibrant and colorful appearance of the city, I knew many people were facing silent struggles. We, the poor people here, lived this way, loving life, yet struggling day by day. My mother was always the greatest role model in my life. She never complained about the hardships she faced every day. I remember times when she worked tirelessly day and night, her hands weary, but every time she saw me, she would smile. My mother had extraordinary strength. She wasn't just the mother who took care of me, she was my companion, the one who taught me about life, about values that no money could ever buy. She never let me feel a lack of love, even though we lacked many other things. Despite having nothing but her endless love for me, she always gave her best to raise me, teaching me that no matter how tough life was, there were always beautiful moments. Our life wasn't easy. But my mother always found ways to make me feel like I was the happiest child in the world. I could feel my mother's love in the smallest gestures, from the warm hand that took me to school to the simple meals that were always full of affection. Every morning, my dream started with my mother's light footsteps. At 4 a.m., while it was still dark, my mother would wake up, preparing everything for a long, tiring day. The jingle of the old bread cart we used to sell bread still echoes in my mind like a sign of a beginning, a reminder that life is always moving forward, and no matter what, we must keep going. My mother never complained about being tired. Even after a long and difficult day, she would always start the new day with a gentle smile and a hopeful gaze. Our little bread cart only had a few simple loaves of bread, but that was all we could offer to those in need. I remember those days, the cold of New Orleans winter biting into our skin, but my mother and I kept walking. We never gave up, not even on a small day of selling bread. Those were the days we understood that each loaf of bread was a symbol of hope, not only for us but for the people we met along the way. Looking back, that cold could freeze even your fingers, but it also made me feel warmth from within. When I looked into my mother's eyes, I always saw a small flame burning. That was her faith in the future, no matter how difficult the present was. Hunger might make my stomach growl, but what I felt most clearly was the perseverance and endless love my mother gave me. No matter how poor we were, we always had one thing that couldn't be lost: our faith in life. I vividly remember the times my mother hurried to sell the bread, her hands trembling from the cold, but her eyes were always bright, as if she was passing me an invisible strength. My mother taught me that even in the most difficult circumstances, we could still help others. Sometimes all it takes is a loaf of bread, a smile, or a comforting word. My mother always said that no matter how hard life gets, we can still bring joy to others, even through the smallest action. She didn't need to have a lot of money to help someone. All it took was a little heart, a little love, and that was enough. I still remember my mother's words: "We might have nothing, but if we help others, we will receive an invaluable joy in return." My mother didn't just teach me how to work hard, she also taught me how to contribute and love without expecting anything in return. Each loaf of bread she made wasn't just to feed the family, but it was also an act of love sent to the community. Even though it was a simple meal, I understood that the love and kindness in that loaf of bread could soothe the great pain that people were suffering. Every time I looked into my mother's eyes, I saw a story beyond her weary exterior. Her thin hands, trembling as she shaped the bread, but I knew that was invisible strength. She wasn't just a woman selling bread to feed her family, she was a symbol of hope for everyone around her. That hard work wasn't what she wanted, but she did it every day with the belief that one small act could change a life. My mother never got tired, because in those loaves of bread, she wasn't just providing food, but also a flame of hope, a belief that people could overcome any difficulty as long as they had enough love and perseverance. If this story has touched your heart, don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the next inspiring stories. At Heart Glow, we share stories of kindness, change, and valuable life lessons. Join this loving community and help us spread positive messages. Life isn't always what we dream it to be. Despite my mother's tireless work and her enduring all the hardships, we could never escape the cycle of debt. I still remember the days we lived in that shabby little house, where every step could be heard as the tiles cracked beneath our feet. We didn't have enough money to cover our expenses, and every time my mother held an envelope from the bank, I saw the obvious worry in her eyes. She never spoke of it, but I knew she was deeply afraid of not having enough to pay the debts, afraid of being evicted, afraid that we wouldn't have enough food. Even though we tried to save every penny and worked late into the night, it was never enough. The debts kept piling up like shadows surrounding our lives. On days when we couldn't afford food, my mother would still try to prepare a meal, even if it was just bread and a little water. Life was hard, but my mother never gave up. She always taught me that no matter how poor we were, we could still find joy in the simplest things. But the reality was tough, and sometimes, I felt like I was standing on the edge, not knowing where to go. Poverty isn't easy, but I never gave up on my mother. I always believed that one day, everything would change. There were nights when I saw my mother eat nothing, only drinking a little water, while I was given the last pieces of bread we had. She ate less so I could be full, giving me everything she had, even though she was very hungry herself. That feeling, I can never forget. It haunts me every day. My mother didn't say anything, she silently handed me the remaining bread and watched me eat. Her eyes at that moment said it all. No words were needed, just a profound love that I could feel. Every piece of bread she gave me wasn't just food, it was love and hope she poured into it. She didn't want me to suffer, even though she was fighting off hunger. Days like these made me reflect deeply on my future. I promised my mother I would never give up on my dreams, dreams of helping her, dreams of never having to see her eat less because of me. That dream pushed me every day, urged me to work hard, to persevere, and to overcome every difficulty. I knew that as long as I didn't give up, I could change our lives. I still remember those late nights when everything was quiet, when I had already laid down in bed and the dreams of childhood began to creep into my mind. My mother would sit alone in the dark corner, her shoulders trembling. She never let me see those tears, but at night, when I woke up, I could still hear her sobbing in silence. My mother cried quietly, and I knew she didn't want me to see. Those tears weren't just from exhaustion, but from the unspoken worries. She didn't want me to bear those burdens. I didn't know what to do then. Except to hug her tightly and whisper in her ear, "You won't have to suffer anymore." I knew my words couldn't change everything, but I promised that I would do everything I could to help her. Those were the nights when I saw my mother's boundless sacrifice most clearly, and I became even more determined to not give up. Nothing hurts more than seeing my mother cry, but I also realized that only I could help her change our lives. There were times when I felt like I was stuck in a vicious cycle, unable to break free. That life truly made me want to give up. On days with no food, on days without money to pay the debts, I felt like I was sinking into darkness. But every time I looked into my mother's eyes, I saw a strange light. Her gaze was like a lantern guiding the way in the dark night, as though she was transmitting an invisible strength to me. My mother never complained, even though she was struggling with a life full of challenges. I realized that if I wasn't resilient, I wouldn't be able to help my mother change anything. My mother had spent her whole life fighting for me, now it was my turn to fight for her. Life might be tough, but I knew that as long as I didn't give up, one day everything would change. And whenever I felt like I couldn't go on, I thought of my mother, and the unwavering look in her eyes made me unable to step back. It wasn't just the struggles at home, I also had to face the stares and criticisms from my friends. On school days, I often had to endure rejection and teasing because my family was poor. My friends didn't understand, they only saw the worn clothes I wore and assumed I didn't deserve a better future. The harsh words sometimes hurt, but I didn't let them affect me. I knew that if I gave up, I would never achieve my dreams. Every harsh word, every time I was looked down upon, became a motivation for me to keep pushing. Despite our poverty, I believed that one day, I would be able to accomplish something great. One day, I would prove to everyone that it's not your circumstances, but your efforts and perseverance that determine your future. We lived through many difficult days, but we never lacked the small loaf of bread. A simple loaf of bread, but it was our source of life, our hope. Those loaves of bread were not just food, they were symbols of perseverance and life itself. I understood that, no matter how much the world might change, no matter how poor we were, that loaf of bread would always be the first step toward a bigger dream. I still remember those mornings when my mother would pack the bread into the old cart, and I would see so many people walking by, their eyes looking at the cart with gratitude. Even though it was just a simple loaf of bread, it brought life, and I knew that one day, that loaf of bread would lead me to even greater dreams. Looking back at the years that have passed, I realize that no matter how much money you have, wealth is just the outer layer of life. The true key to success is perseverance and love. These values are not taught in books or schools. They are learned through falling down and getting back up. Perseverance, when I had nothing but an old bread cart and a burning dream to change my life. And love, the days when my mother gave me everything, teaching me that no matter how poor we are, we can still help others. I used to think that if I just had enough money, everything would be fine, but that's not true. When you have nothing, all you have left is faith in yourself and in your loved ones. Those difficult years taught me that love and perseverance are the most valuable assets anyone can possess, if they know how to preserve and develop them. I realized that no failure is permanent, if you persevere and never give up. Success will come on its own. It is perseverance and love that helped me overcome all the challenges in life, and they are what opened the door to true success, but I couldn't just sit in difficulty without changing anything. I decided not to let circumstances continue to dictate my fate. I began looking for opportunities to escape poverty. I signed up for courses, learned from successful people, and tried to build a solid skill set for myself. Every day, I learned, from the basics to specialized skills. Every course I took made me feel a little more grown up. With each lesson, I not only gathered knowledge but also honed my adaptability and problem-solving skills. I didn't wait for an opportunity to come from anyone. I understood that only by creating opportunities for myself could I change my life. While others rested, I sat reading books, doing assignments, and improving myself every day. I never allowed myself to be lazy or think that I was already good enough. Life wasn't easy, but each day, I moved one step forward. And then, that effort started to bear fruit. Opportunities began to appear, and I realized that anyone could change their life if they dared to stand up and take action. Then, I faced failures. The times I encountered difficulties in my work. The rejections when I sent out job applications, the failures in small projects I had tried to build. Failure, though painful, didn't knock me down. Failure is part of the process of success. I understood that if I hadn't gone through those falls, I would never know how strong I could be. With every failure, I learned something, and with every challenge, I grew more resilient. I never thought about giving up. Those failures only made me more determined, because I knew that one day, I would stand at the top of success and say, I made it. On the days when I felt the most exhausted, I thought of my mother, of the days we overcame together. Those memories fueled me, helped me not give up, and kept me fighting, moving forward. Every time I felt like I couldn't continue, I thought of my mother, of the days we sold bread on the streets together. The old bread cart wasn't just a means for us to survive each day, but it was also a symbol of hope. I remember my mother's eyes when she looked at me, those eyes always filled with faith and love. On mornings when I felt drained, my mother always encouraged me, even though she herself was tired. I could never forget the times I saw my mother working hard without ever complaining or resting. She was the one who taught me never to give up. Every time I faced a challenge, I remembered that bread cart, and I realized that every step, every challenge helped me grow. I understood that no success comes without failure, and every time I fall, it is an opportunity for me to grow stronger. I told myself, no matter how difficult it gets, I will keep getting up and moving forward, and then, after all those years of relentless effort, I began to see the results. The first jobs I received, the first contracts, and the small projects I created gradually allowed me to earn enough money to live comfortably. That feeling was so sweet. Being able to buy what I needed, ensuring a stable life for myself and my mother, I couldn't express all the emotions I felt at that moment. But even with money in hand, the most important thing I realized was self-belief. Before, I always thought that money would bring happiness, but now I understand that believing in myself is what truly matters. That is the priceless asset I found in this journey. When you believe in your abilities, when you persist in following your dreams, nothing can stop you. And now, I have begun to believe that I can achieve everything I once dreamed of. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. An opportunity one had waited for my entire life. I received an invitation from a big company, a company I had admired for a long time. This was the opportunity one had been seeking during all those hard years. This invitation wasn't just for a job, it was a door opening to a whole new future. I couldn't believe it when I heard the news. It was a major milestone in my life, the result of years of hard work, every drop of sweat, and every dream that never gave up. When I walked into that company, I knew I wasn't just walking into a company, I was stepping into a new chapter of my life, a chapter one had always dreamed of. If you feel that this story touches your heart, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next inspiring stories. At Heart Glow, we share stories of kindness, change, and valuable lessons from life. Be a part of this loving community and join us in spreading positive messages. When I look at my life now, I can't deny that I have everything anyone could ever wish for. I own big houses, expensive cars, and I can always eat and drink comfortably without worrying about money. However, every time I look at the bread, a bread I once sold with my mother under the dim light of early mornings, a strange feeling rises in my heart. It is not just a simple food, but a symbol of the hard and difficult times I went through. Every time I look at that bread, I remember the old days, when my mother and I had nothing but hope, with only an old cart and hard mornings. Our bread was not a luxury meal, but it carried love, sacrifice, and relentless effort just to survive each day. During those times, we had only each other and faith in a brighter future, and it was that bread that kept our hearts warm. Even now, having achieved success, every time I look at that bread, I realize that nothing is more important than holding on to the core values my mother taught me, that faith, sacrifice, and perseverance are more precious than anything else. The achievements I have now cannot compare to the sense of determination and love that bread taught me. My mother is no longer with me. She passed away after a long battle with illness. I clearly remember her last days, when I would come home after a stressful day at work, but could not be by her side every day. That feeling of loss was truly painful, but I know that my mother did everything she could to give me the life I have today. She was not just the one who gave birth to me, but the one who taught me everything, about perseverance, love, and never giving up. She worked tirelessly so I could study and have a bright future. She never complained, never stopped, even though life always tested her. Every time I think of her working hard under the dim light, those late nights when she was cleaning and preparing food for me, I realize that she was the one who built the solid foundation for me. She didn't need to say, "I love you," because every action she took was a deep and sincere expression of love. When I look back, I feel immensely grateful, and I will never forget her image in my heart. Even though she is no longer with me, her image still lives on in me, in the actions I take, in the decisions I make. My mother is an irreplaceable part of my life. And the lessons she taught me will never fade with time. I always remember those days when my mother would wake up very early, before the houses in the neighborhood turned on their lights, and she would begin her work. My mother was a strong woman who never rested, always working with all her strength to ensure that I could study. She didn't just sell bread, she did every job she could to make sure I could go to school, that I would have a better future. She didn't have time to rest, didn't have time to care for herself, but she always smiled and encouraged me, reminding me, "You have to study hard so you don't have to live like me." In the mornings, I would see my mother sitting by the old table, looking at my school books, wondering what more she could do to keep me from facing the hardships she had gone through. She worked through the night, hoping that I would have the opportunity to change my life, and not endure the suffering she once did. The image of my mother sitting in the dark, with only the dim light from the desk lamp, is one I will never forget. She was always my guide, always encouraging me in my toughest times. No matter how hard life got, she kept her faith and brought me hope. Those moments will always be precious memories to me, the vital life lessons I will carry with me for the rest of my life. When I had everything, houses, cars, money, I thought I had achieved the biggest goal in life. But every time I came home, every time I sat alone in my luxurious room, I felt an emptiness inside. I had everything I had once dreamed of, but I lacked the simple values my mother had taught me. Family meals were no longer like before, no longer were there days when I shared a simple loaf of bread with my mother. Everything had changed, but in my heart, I always remembered the truly important values my mother had taught me, that love, sacrifice, and patience were more valuable than anything. My mother never thought of herself, she only thought of me and a better future for me. The simple breakfasts, full of love, taught me that true happiness doesn't come from material things. It is these simple values that I feel are missing in my life now. Sometimes I wonder if I have forgotten the important lessons my mother taught me. The lessons of perseverance, gratitude, and hard work not only help me succeed but also help me live fully. Every time night falls, when I return to my luxurious home, I think about the homeless people on the streets. I clearly remember the days when I was just like them, struggling to survive, with no place to call home. I see them sitting on the sidewalk, with nothing but a thin coat, no home, no job, no full meals. That scene reminds me of the days when my mother and I sold bread, with only the old cart and hot loaves of bread. We had nothing but hope and faith that tomorrow would be better. These homeless people, they not only lack food but also lack hope. I understand them, I feel their pain and desperation in their eyes. Late at night, as I lie in my warm room, I cannot help but think of them. How can I help them? How can I bring a little light into their lives? This is when I feel that my responsibility is not just to create personal success, but to share what I have with those less fortunate. With everything I have decided never to forget my roots. The lessons of perseverance, sacrifice, and love from my mother will always be the guiding lights in every decision I make. Life may change, but these values will never fade. I know I must pass these lessons on to the next generation, helping them understand that success doesn't come from material things, but from spiritual values. Every time I help others, every time I share what I have, I think of my mother, the bread, and the hard days that made me who I am today. I will not let these simple values be forgotten, because they are the foundation of true success and happiness in life. Every month, there is a day that I reserve just for myself, a day to return to the old street, the place where my mother and I spent our difficult days. That street, now different, has become busier with bright neon lights, but it still holds a quiet peace, as though those old days still silently exist here. I am not famous, nor am I anyone special in the eyes of the people around me. When I return, I want to blend in with the bustling crowd, like a regular person, an unnamed street vendor. From there, I can reflect on how far I've come from those hard days. Every month, I remind myself that I will return, that I will disguise myself as a simple bread vendor like before, so I never forget where I came from. Simple clothes, an old bike, and a gentle smile are all I need, not to seek attention or pity, but to reconnect with the beautiful memories of a hard time. Those moments make me realize that sometimes life only needs small things to make us appreciate and feel happy. Even though success has come, I still find ways to reconnect with my roots, so I don't lose sight of the simple yet incredibly valuable things in life. I still remember the difficult days clearly, when my mother and I had nothing but love and sacrifice. During those days, the bread was not just food, but a symbol of kindness. And now, when I have the opportunity, I want to give back those good deeds by sharing bread, not for profit, but to give hope. I no longer sell bread. Instead, I stand there, in simple clothes, with a basket full of bread, ready to give them to those who need help. The homeless people passing by look at me, their eyes filled with surprise, asking why I do this, why I give without asking for anything in return. And I just smile, gently handing them a piece of bread, wishing them a good day. In that moment, I feel deeply that these small actions are what truly matter in life. I don't need them to know who I am, I only want them to know that they are not alone, that there are still people willing to help without asking for anything. The bread is not just food, but a gesture of sharing, of hope. It's all I can do to repay life and the benefactors who helped me when I needed it the most. When I give the bread to the homeless, their eyes reflect surprise. They look at me as if they can't believe what they've just received. I know that in this world, such actions are not always easy to accept, because life is full of doubt and skepticism. They are so used to surviving each day without help, and now, someone is giving them something for free. I look into their eyes. And I just smile. Not because of their surprise, but because I understand that I don't need to explain. These simple actions are enough to say it all. I just want them to know that they deserve love, that in a world full of challenges and difficulties, there are still people who never forget the meaning of giving and loving. And when I hand them the bread, I don't need them to thank me. I simply wish them a good day. That's all, but it's all I can do, and in that moment, I feel that I have done the right thing. Kindness may not change the whole world, but it certainly changes the hearts of those who receive it. Every time I stand there, looking at the people receiving the bread, I remember one of the lessons my mother taught me: life may change, but kindness and love are things that never change. Those words echo in my mind, and I understand that kindness and love are not bound by time, circumstance, or destiny. My mother lived by these values. She never let herself be tempted by material things or fame. She taught me that no matter how the world changes, good deeds, loving actions will always exist. And now, I want to pass these values on. The bread I give is not just food. It is a symbol of kindness. Of the values my mother taught me. I understand that, no matter how much success I achieve, I cannot let kindness and love become luxuries in life. It is love and compassion that will make me feel fulfilled, happy, and complete. These actions don't need to be grand, even small gestures will endure over time. Every time I give away a piece of bread and see the eyes of those who receive it, I feel a profound change in my heart. Their eyes are not filled with surprise or astonishment, but with gratitude, respect, and hope. That feeling makes me reflect on everything I've been through and realize that I don't need to have all the material things in life to feel happy. It's these simple actions that make me feel whole. Each of those gazes is proof that kindness can change lives, even if just a little. These people don't need much, they just need sharing, a little care to feel that they still have value and are not alone in this world. Each time this happens, I feel that I am living true to my life's purpose. I don't need to look far, because that purpose is simply to give love and kindness. Those gazes are all I need to understand that I have found my true path. In the end, I realize that this journey is not about seeking success or material things, but about returning to the purest things in life. Those days, I went through challenges, I overcame difficulties, but I also learned a precious lesson: love and compassion can change everything. Whether I succeed or not, I must hold on to these values because they are what give me a sense of fulfillment in life. And when I look back at my journey, I understand that the greatest value I can leave in this world is love and compassion. Now, after achieving the successes I once dreamed of and being able to live in material comfort, I still can't forget the old memories. Those were the days when my mother and I struggled to sell bread on a poor street. Those mornings when we woke up while it was still dark, packed each loaf of bread into the old cart, and prepared for a long day of making ends meet. Now, I have everything I want, beautiful houses, luxurious cars, but whenever I look back, the first thing I always remember is the first loaf of bread. It was not just food, it was a symbol of love and hope. It connected me to my mother and reminded me that no matter how far I go, I must never forget my roots. Every time I look at a loaf of bread, I don't just see food, I see the long journey I've gone through and the relentless efforts of my mother. No matter how much money I have in my hands, I always remember those tough days because those days taught me invaluable lessons about life. Resilience, and the unconditional love my mother gave me. Success is a word that carries many meanings, and for each person, success can be defined in different ways. But for me, success is not just numbers on a sign, not a number in a bank account, nor a luxury car or a mansion. True success is when you can use what you have to help others, to improve the lives of those around you. The years I spent in poverty taught me that money isn't everything. It can help you live comfortably, but it can't buy happiness or trust. True success is when you look at the community and feel that you've contributed to changing their lives. That's why I continue to do small things like giving away free loaves of bread, like helping the homeless. Success is when you can make the world a better place, not with material gifts, but with simple and meaningful actions. And every time I do that, I feel that I have lived fully, I've left an imprint on the hearts of others, something that money and fame cannot do. Although I've achieved many accomplishments in life, I never want to forget the true reason I am here in this world. Every month, I dedicate a day to go back to the old street where I used to sell bread. And I give away free loaves of bread to those who need them most. It's not a promotional act or something for show, it's a way for me to remind myself of the days I've been through and the lessons I've learned from them. I can't forget those days when my mother and I only had bread to eat, but we always felt happy and content because we had each other. And now, when I have more than I need, I can't forget the value of the small things. Every time I give bread to a homeless person, I feel that I am giving back to society, reminding myself that life isn't just about me but about those around me. I do this not because I want to prove something, but because I want to keep the values I have learned intact. It's a way for me not to forget who I am and why I'm here. The story of the loaf of bread is not about me. It's not the story of someone who succeeded through personal effort, but the story of those who have been with me throughout my journey. I couldn't have done anything without the support and love of my loved ones. My mother, my friends, my benefactors, and the homeless people I've met on the street, all of them play an important role in this story. They were the ones who helped me when I needed it the most, and they taught me important lessons about humanity. This story is not about the outward appearance of success, but about the relationships and the kindness I've received throughout my journey. The loaves of bread are a symbol of sharing and love, and I want this story to be told about all those who gave me the opportunity to help others, those who have left a mark on my life. This story belongs to all of us, and I hope it inspires everyone who hears it so that they can continue their own journey. When I tell my story, I don't just want to share the challenges I've overcome, but I also want listeners to feel that dreams are attainable, no matter how tough life gets. Each of us has our own dreams, and sometimes we may feel lost, like everything is against us. But I want to say that nothing is impossible. Keep going, be persistent, and never give up on your dreams. Life will never be a straight path, but if you have enough patience and resilience, you'll see that every effort is worth it. I hope this story will be a source of inspiration so that when you face difficulties, you remember the story of someone who overcame poverty and became someone who could help others. If I can do it, so can you. Dreams have no limits, only you can be sure of your own limits. So, never stop dreaming and striving. Success will come when you never give up. Life will never be easy, and you will face many challenges. But the important thing is never to give up. Dark days may make you feel like you're lost, but don't forget that the light is always somewhere. Difficulties are just challenges that help you become stronger, help you grow. When I look back on my journey, I realize that no road is easy, but if you persist, you will always find the light at the end of the tunnel. The challenges I've overcome were not easy, but every time I got through them, I felt more mature, stronger, and more grateful for those difficulties. Because it was those difficulties that helped me understand the value of resilience. And I want you to feel the same way. No matter how tough life gets, as long as you don't give up, you will find light in the darkest days. Believe in yourself and keep moving forward, because light will always come to those who never give up hope. The story of the loaf of bread is not just my journey, but the journey of all of us. It's the story of hope, of unconditional love, and of perseverance that never gives up. No matter where you are in life, no matter how many challenges you face, remember that dreams can always come true, as long as you keep trying and believing in yourself. Let this story be an inspiration. The flame that powers you on your journey ahead. And if you feel that stories like this can motivate you, don't forget to subscribe to the Heart Glow channel today. Let's create a community full of love and motivation, where every story can light the fire in your heart. Thank you for joining me in this story. Press the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video, bringing you powerful moments of inspiration. Let Heart Glow always be your source of motivation, every day.